Welcome back to the Garden Hutch. Today we're going to do a quick spring review of our new greenhouse. Let's get going. So for Christmas, my father-in-law got us this greenhouse behind us. We got it put up in February and we've made it through most of the spring and our summer vegetables have already been grown. So I kind of wanted to do a review and let you folks know how it's held up to this point. Let's go take a look. So we'll start from the beginning in the assemble process. Now, getting the dirt work and all of that sort of stuff done, that wasn't too bad. I'm used to doing it with us living on a hill and that sort of stuff. So I've done it several times, mainly for all of our raised beds as we've gone through. But the assembly part of the greenhouse was an absolute nightmare when we first started. We tried to do it by the directions that came with the greenhouse and they were just unintuitive. And when we followed them step by step, it just made things incredibly more difficult than what they had to be. So what we ended up doing was just going online and finding a video of other folks who had put the greenhouse together, and boy, did that make a difference. So we spent like 6.5 hours one day, got frustrated and just left it, went inside, watched the video. The next day we came outside and had the greenhouse put together in a couple hours. So going forward, if you order one of these Amazon greenhouses, I highly recommend doing a bit of research online before you do your assembly. Sometimes the instructions do it the hardest way, not the easiest way. The next thing I wanted to discuss were a few things that we added here on our own. Now, when we got the greenhouse assembled, we did put some 4-foot stakes in the ground. A lot of that had to do with the fact that we get a lot of high winds here. So we had to make some adaptations to the greenhouse. The greenhouse itself says that it's rated at 35-mile-an-hour winds. It routinely gets gusts of over 50 here. So we knew going into it we were going to have to make a few adjustments. But we did put in the 4-foot stakes. They have held up remarkably well. The other thing we did to sort of reinforce the greenhouse was we used this green duct tape that sort of matched the color of the framing. It's not exact, but I don't think it looks terrible. But what it has done is it's prevented any of our panels from coming out. Now, when the wind gets up to, 55, 60 miles an hour and you're inside that bad boy, you can hear those panels sort of rocking a bit. I am a firm believer that if we would not have put that duct tape on these panels, we would have been picking them up out of the yard and trying to get them back in the greenhouse. So that part of it has been a success. If you buy one of these, I highly recommend doing this no matter where you live, just in case you do get the occasional wind gusts that exceed that 35 mile an hour that they recommend. The third addition that we made was on the bottom of the gutter. So we have these real small gutters here. They won't hold all the water from a torrential rain, but they do pretty well during a steady to slow rain. And they come through, so I was afraid living on a slope like we do, it was going to create a mass amount of runoff at the base of the greenhouse. So we put these buckets down here like so, and it's actually worked out really well. We use them to water the inside of the greenhouse. It also has prevented, as you can see here, it's prevented a lot of the runoff from taking the foundation that we put in away. So overall, I am really pleased with the additions that we made. And up to this point, the greenhouse has withstood the springtime, I guess, weather situation that we have here. Because let's face it, this year has been pretty rough. The next thing I wanted to discuss was the size. Does it work for us? Well, the answer is I'm not quite sure yet. Now, as of right now, this thing is packed from front to back. We also have our original greenhouse packed, and that's because we're sort of in that transition phase. We have the last bit of our cool weather vegetables that we're going to use to plug in the gardens. We also have several of our herbs that we haven't gotten out yet. We also have all of our summer vegetables that are ready to go in a couple weeks. So having said all that, I do feel like if we can get the inside of the greenhouse organized the way I want, I think it's going to be plenty of room. But going into this year, right, I wasn't real sure. It was the first year I had it. I just kind of used the things that I had around the house. We had the shelving behind us and this table. So we thought we would use that. I thought it would be plenty of room. I do believe going forward, I'm going to have to get more shelving, and I'll put it on the south side of the wall. And then I'll probably get a smaller work table. That way I can increase the growing space, you know, from bottom to the top. Because while this table is super nice, you can't really put anything underneath of it, right? Because it's just so large, it'll block and shade out any of the vegetables that go underneath there. So real fast, let's just take a look around the greenhouse and how we set it up right now. So right off the bat, we have our little container garden over here. Right now, we just have the one pea in it. What we're planning on doing is trying over the winter time to keep some fresh lettuce growing in there. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, but we're hoping that it will. Another thing I wanted to point out about this table is it is difficult to get in here and take all these weeds out. Right now, I go through about every 2 weeks or so and pull it out. I haven't done it in a while simply because I have so much stuff in here. Once I pull everything out and we plant our summer garden, I'm going to redo all this, and I'll go through and I'll pull all these weeds and that sort of thing. But as of right now, I'm not really worried about it. It's not really doing anything except for holding the dirt in on the bottom. But we definitely don't want to have to go through and mow or trim any weeds inside the greenhouse, right? As you can see, this table takes up quite a bit of the room. I can't help but think that if I had a small table and racks on, you know, all the way around in a U around the greenhouse, that it would just increase my surface area to grow significantly. But as of right now, we have, down here we use this little pad for things that are going out. So right now, the next thing that's going to be planted are the melons and such. And then we have the rack for all of the things that we've started. I've had requests to start some extra tomatoes and peppers for friends and family, so you can see a lot of those have been started. Up here, there's the new bell peppers and that sort of stuff. With the late cold weather that we had that came through, there's a lot of people that had peppers or basil in the ground, and those cold temperatures did not do any favors to those plants. So a lot of people are asking for backup. So I thought we had the extra seeds, we might as well go ahead and start them. And you can see this table over here is quite full. Again, these are all relatively new plants that are going to be going out into the garden here in a couple of weeks. But the thing I wanted to talk about specifically here, with it being the greenhouse, is you can see how much we can put vertically using this shelving system. And we have about as many plants on this table as we do on this shelf, but it takes up considerably less space. So I think going forward, the big thing we're going to have to do is maximize our space in here and kind of rethink the way that we have it designed. So those racks and things, those are relatively cheap. In fact, I still have a couple in the barn, I think, that I can go ahead and bring out here. I just haven't had the time to do it yet. So once all these plants go out, we'll redo it. And then going into the fall, I'll probably do an update so we can show the changes that we've made and see if we have, or how much additional room we're able to create by doing that. So to wrap this up, I do believe that this greenhouse is going to be a long-term solution for us. I think once I've got the inside of it designed the way that I want, and I'm a bit more familiar with the cadence of all of our new gardens, because, you know, to keep in mind, this is the first year that all of our gardens, our raised beds and such, have been set up, organized, and ready to go at the first of the summer. So we're still moving things around a little bit, deciding what we want to grow, deciding the areas that we want to have tomatoes and peppers in, and where we want to do our spring/fall gardens. So there's a lot of moving parts on the homestead right now. Having said all that, I do think that this greenhouse is going to be a permanent fixture, and it's going to save us a lot of money going forward. I will say that I'm not 100% sold on the location. I'm wondering if maybe I shouldn't have moved it down a little bit further in the yard. Right now, it's perfect. It gets a lot of sun, we don't have any issues, and some of our oak trees are able to shade it during the hottest part of the day. My concern comes whenever the fall rolls around and the days start getting a bit shorter and the sun sits on the southern side of the sky a little bit more. I'm not sure if it's going to get enough sun for us to be able to support growing lettuce in there year round. But, you know, we'll find out this winter whenever that time rolls around. As always, I appreciate all you folks who watch. Till next time, I hope you all take care of yourselves. Peace.